I was the only female undercover agent in the police force. When my identity was exposed during a mission handover, my superior and boyfriend, Ethan, personally ordered my rescue to be abandoned to protect his childhood friend. In the operations command center, his deputy shouted, "Captain Jiang, Emily going in means certain death." He stared at the screen and said expressionlessly, "She's too impulsive and never follows the plan. It's high time she learned a lesson." I was tortured by the drug lord for a whole year before being rescued by another group. However, I was completely ruined and could never return to the police force. Later, Ethan found me working as a cashier in a supermarket in a small city. He looked at the ferocious scar on my hand, and this man of iron cried, "Xiaoxi, I know you hate me, but can you come back? It's okay to scold me one more time." He stood in his crisp police uniform in front of a pile of colorful snack shelves. Looking completely out of place, the surrounding noise seemed to disappear in an instant. I lowered my head, my fingers stiffly sweeping over item after item. Beep, 3 yuan 50, beep, 15 yuan 80. My voice was dry and mechanical. He walked up to me step by step, his tall figure looming over me. I could smell the familiar scent of tobacco on him, mixed with a hint of travel dust. "Xiaoxi," his voice was hoarse, my hand trembled, and a can fell to the ground with a dull thud. "I'm sorry." I immediately bent down to pick it up, but I didn't dare look at him. He squatted down, picked up the can before I could, and his warm fingertips brushed against the back of my hand. I snatched my hand back as if I'd been burned. He saw the hideous scar on my wrist, coiled there like an ugly centipede. His breath caught for a moment. This iron-willed man, who had never flinched in a hail of bullets, suddenly had red eyes. He grabbed my wrist with a force that felt like he was trying to crush it. "Who did this?" His voice was filled with suppressed rage and an undeniable tremor. I struggled to pull my hand away, but it was in vain. Everyone in the supermarket looked at us curiously. The manager rushed over, smiling apologetically, and asked, "Officer, is there something I can help you with?" Ethan didn't pay attention to him, just stared at me intently. "Xiaoxi, I know you hate me, but can you come back?" His reddened eyes were full of pleading. "I don't even mind if you scold me one more time." Ethan still took me away. He resigned for me with an unrefusable attitude, packed my things, and shoved me into his car. The place I lived was a dark and damp top-floor apartment in an old residential complex. Less than 30 square meters. He looked at the moldy wallpaper on the wall, caused by a leak, and his brows furrowed. "You live in a place like this?" I didn't answer. I just silently folded a few changes of clothes and put them in my bag. He hugged me from behind, burying his head in the crook of my neck. "I'm sorry, Xiaoxi, it's my fault I didn't take good care of you." His embrace, which was once the harbor I longed for most, now felt like a burning brand. My whole body stiffened, and I began to tremble uncontrollably. "Don't touch me." My voice was soft, yet it carried an undeniable resistance. His body froze, but he tightened his grip. "Xiaoxi, I know you're afraid of me, but I won't hurt you." The more he said this, the more I trembled. A year ago, Kane's subordinates said the same thing. While saying "don't be afraid," they used a red-hot iron rod to burn my skin. "Let go of me," I suddenly screamed, pushing him away with all my might. I cowered in the corner, clutching my head, feeling like the whole world was spinning. Those forgotten images rushed into my mind one after another: the dark water dungeon, the rasp of chains, and Kane's grinning face. "Get out," I screamed at him hysterically. Ethan stood frozen, his face drained of color, his eyes filled with pain and helplessness. He wanted to get closer, but was afraid of provoking me again. "Okay, I'm leaving." He raised his hands and slowly backed away to the door. "I'll wait for you downstairs. Calm yourself down." The door was closed, and silence returned to the room. I sat on the cold floor, hugging my knees, tears streaming down my face silently. Ethan rented me the most upscale apartment in the city center and hired a dedicated nanny to take care of me. He visited me every day, bringing me all sorts of things: the latest mobile phone, branded clothes and bags, and my favorite desserts from before. He thought these could make up for the mistakes he made. But he didn't know that seeing those desserts would only remind me of Kane forcing me to eat spoiled food to make me talk. I started having nightmares every night, in my dreams. I am always running in endless darkness, with Kane's hideous laughter behind me. Each time, I wake up in terror, drenched in cold sweat. That night, I woke up from a nightmare again. A faint light came from the living room. I walked out and saw Ethan sitting on the sofa, smoking. The ashtray in front of him was already piled high with cigarette butts. Hearing a noise, he turned to look at me. Had another nightmare. I nodded and walked over to the water dispenser to pour myself a glass of water. Xiaoxi, why don't you go see a therapist? He walked over, trying to take my hand. I took a step back, avoiding his touch. I'm not sick. This won't do, he said stubbornly. You need therapy. I looked at him and suddenly found it somewhat amusing. Ethan, you think I'm sick? That's not what I meant. Then what am I supposed to mean? I interrupted him. You personally pushed me into hell, where I was tortured for a year, now, just because I'm a little scared and can't sleep. You think I'm sick? My voice wasn't loud, but it was like a knife, piercing deeply into his heart. He fell silent, the light in his eyes dimming little by little. I'm sorry, it's those 3 words again. Besides, I'm sorry, it seems he can't say anything else. After finishing my water, I turned around and prepared to go back to my room. Xiaoxi, he suddenly called to me. Sophia wants to come see you tomorrow. Sophia, the name pricked my nerves like a needle. Ethan's childhood sweetheart. The daughter of his mentor, and the one he chose to protect a year ago. I stopped in my tracks, not looking back. I don't want to see her. She's just worried about you. Ethan's voice carried a hint of exhaustion. If it hadn't been to cover her retreat back then, you wouldn't have. So what? I retorted coldly. So I should be grateful to her and greet her with a smile. Ethan, that's not what I meant, he explained hastily. I just think that since it's all in the past, you should try to move forward, look forward. Easier said than done. Those scars are etched into my body. Those nightmares haunt my every night. How can he expect me to look forward? Tell her not to come. I dropped this sentence and returned to my room, locking the door. The next day, Sophia still came. She was carrying an exquisite fruit basket, wearing a pure white dress, looking like a lily unstained by dust. Ethan wasn't there, and the nanny opened the door. Her eyes immediately reddened when she saw me. Sister Xiaoxi, you're finally back. She walked over, intending to hug me. But I dodged to the side. Her hands stopped awkwardly in midair, and a hint of grievance appeared on her face. Sister Xiaoxi, are you still blaming me? She bit her lip. Tears welling up in her eyes. I know, it's all my fault. If it weren't for me, you wouldn't have suffered so much. Brother Ethan hasn't had a good night's sleep all year looking for you. He's lost so much weight. She always manages to take all the blame on herself, and then cleverly distance Ethan from it. I watched her performance without saying a word. Sister Xiaoxi, look, I brought you your favorite mangoes. She opened the fruit basket, took out a large, yellow mango, and held it out to me. A rich, sweet aroma wafted towards me. My stomach churned violently. At Kane's, one way he would punish me was to lock me in a dark room filled with rotting fruit. The cloying smell of those decaying mangoes is still my nightmare. Get off. I lost control and knocked the mango out of her hand. The mango fell to the ground and splattered. Ah, Sophia screamed as if I had knocked off her hand, not the mango. Xiaoxi, are you okay? She looked at me in terror, as if I were a madman. At that moment, the door opened. Ethan walked in. Seeing the mess on the floor and Sophia's red eyes, his expression immediately darkened. What's going on, brother Ethan? Sophia seemed to have found her backbone and immediately threw herself into his arms, crying aggrievedly, I just wanted to peel a mango for Jie. And then Ethan held her and gently patted her back to comfort her. Then he looked up at me with a disappointed and helpless expression. Emily, what are you making a fuss about now? His voice carried a hint of reproach. She just wants to care about you. Is it necessary for you to act like this? Watching them embrace tightly, I felt as if an invisible hand clutched my heart, causing a pain that made it impossible to breathe. Yes, she just wanted to care about me. And I was just making a fuss over nothing, being unreasonable. I'm tired. I turned and walked back to my room with heavy steps, closing the door. I could finally stop pretending to be strong. I slid down the door to the floor, burying my face deep in my knees. What exactly did I go through that year? Ethan never asked. Perhaps he dared not ask, or perhaps he felt it was unnecessary to ask. I was locked by Kane in a dark water dungeon. It was dark and damp, and the air was always filled with the smell of blood and rot. My hands and feet were chained with heavy iron chains, and the only food I received each day was spoiled food thrown on the ground. Kane is a psychopath. He doesn't want to kill me with one blow. He prefers to torment me slowly, to break my will. He would use all sorts of methods to extract the list of police informants from me. He would whip me, burn me with a branding iron, and even, in front of me, he would throw a dying rat into my bowl of rice. At first, I would resist and curse. Later, I didn't even have the strength to open my mouth. My old wounds haven't healed yet, and new ones have been added. Many times, I thought I would die in that dirty place. The instinct for survival pulled me back from the brink of death. Again and again, I cannot die. If I die, it will play right into Ethan's hands. Then he can be with Sophia with a clear conscience. I was rescued during a gang shootout. The person who saved me was Kane's arch-nemesis. They left me at the doorstep of a small clinic and disappeared. I was in the hospital for 3 months. The physical wounds healed slowly, but the emotional trauma might never heal. After being discharged from the hospital, I didn't contact anyone. I moved to another city, found a job as a supermarket cashier, and just wanted to live the rest of my life in peace. I thought I would never again be involved with Jiang. I thought I would never again have any interaction with Ethan. I didn't expect him to find me after all. After running out of Ethan's apartment, I wandered aimlessly on the streets. Unconsciously, I found myself standing in front of an old bookstore. The bookstore was small and elegantly decorated, with a wooden wind chime hanging at the entrance, making a crisp sound as it swayed in the wind. I walked in as if possessed. The shop was quiet, with only the faint scent of books and ink. A young man in a white shirt sat behind the counter, quietly reading a book. He looked clean, with a gentle and refined aura like jade. Seeing me enter, he looked up and gave me a gentle smile. "Welcome, feel free to browse." His voice was pleasant, like a clear mountain spring, making me feel very comfortable. I wandered between the bookshelves, my fingertips brushing the spines of the books. Most of the books here are literature and philosophy, which few people read, but they are all well maintained. I finally found a book on plant care in a corner. I took the book to the counter to pay. "That will be 28 yuan. He took the book and scanned the code. I paid and prepared to leave. "Hold on a moment," he called out to me, took a small succulent pot from under the counter, and handed it to me. "This is for you." I was stunned. "Why, you don't look too well," he said with a gentle smile. "Having some plants might cheer you up a bit." His smile was warm, like the winter sun. Looking at the small succulent in my hand, a part of my heart felt as if it had been gently touched. "Thank you," I whispered. "My name is Michael," he said. "Emily." That was the first time I had said my name to a stranger after I returned. Michael's bookstore became my only haven. I go there every day and stay for a while. Sometimes I read, and sometimes I just sit in the chair by the window and zone out. Michael is a very quiet person. He never asks about my past, nor does he disturb me. When I arrive, he simply makes me a cup of hot tea, and when I leave, he smiles at me and says, "See you tomorrow." His bookstore is filled with many lush, vibrant green plants. He said that plants are friends who cannot speak, and as long as you care for them with your heart, they will repay you with their most beautiful forms. Under his influence, I also started learning to grow flowers. The luxury apartment Ethan rented for me has a large balcony with great sunshine. I bought many flower pots and seeds, turning the balcony into a small garden. Every day I watered the flowers, loosened the soil, and watched them sprout, grow leaves, and bloom little by little. My heart, which had long withered, seemed to regain a little vitality. Ethan noticed that I was going out every day. He asked where I was going, and I didn't tell him. This day, I came back from the bookstore and found Ethan's car parked downstairs the apartment building. He was leaning against the car door, smoking. When he saw me, he immediately put out his cigarette and walked over. "Where did you go?" There was a hint of interrogation in his tone that was hard to miss. I ignored him and walked straight upstairs. He followed me, chattering incessantly. "Xiaoxi, what are you hiding from? Is there anything you can't tell me? What is there left to say between us?" I stopped and looked back at him. "Ethan, let me go, and let yourself go too." "Impossible." He grabbed my shoulders excitedly. "Emily, you'll never leave me in this lifetime." His eyes were obsessive and wild, and I felt a wave of fear. I forcefully shook his hand off and ran home. The next day, when I went to the bookstore again, Ethan was actually there too. He stood in front of the bookshelf, pretending to read, but his eyes kept glancing over at me and Michael. Michael seemed completely oblivious and, as usual, made me some tea. "You're a bit late today," he said. "Yes. There was traffic." I held the hot tea, but felt uneasy. Ethan walked over, holding a book in his hand, and asked Michael as if casually, "Boss, how much is this book?" His gaze, however, was full of hostility as he looked at Michael. Michael glanced at him and said calmly, "$35. Ethan slid $100 bill from his wallet and tossed it onto the counter. "No need to look," he finished speaking, grabbed my wrist, and pulled me outside. "What are you doing?" I struggled. "Going home." His voice was as cold as ice. He dragged me out of the bookstore. Through the glass door, I saw Michael standing there, watching us quietly, with a hint of worry in his eyes. Back home, Ethan threw me onto the sofa. "Who is he?" He looked down at me with cold eyes. "A friend." "Friends," he sneered. "Emily, when did you make friends? How come I don't know? Do I need to report to you when I make friends?" I stood up from the sofa, meeting his gaze without fear. "Don't forget. You use everything of mine now, live in my house, spend my money." He grabbed my chin, forcing me to look at him. "I don't want to see you involved with other men. What's between us is very clear." I said word by word. "On the other hand, Ethan, it's you and Sophia who are unclear, isn't it?" His face instantly turned ugly. "Don't drag Xiao Wn into this. She's not like you. Yeah, she's different. She's a hothouse flower that needs to be protected, while I am a weed that can be discarded at will." We had a huge argument and parted on bad terms. After that, Ethan restricted my going out. He even arranged for 2 bodyguards at the door, under the guise of protecting my safety. I knew he just wanted to trap me. I was like a canary trapped in a cage, having lost my only freedom. I started not speaking or eating for days on end. The nanny was beside herself with worry and called Ethan. By the time Ethan rushed back, I hadn't eaten in 2 days. He looked at my pale face and sunken eyes and finally compromised. "Where do you want to go? I'll accompany you." I didn't have the strength to argue with him, so I nodded. "I want to go see my flowers." The flowers on the balcony had already started to wilt because no one was taking care of them. I picked up the kettle and watered them pot by pot. Ethan stood behind me, watching me silently. "Xiaoxi," he suddenly said, "tomorrow is Xiaowan's birthday, and she wants to invite you to dinner." I paused in my watering. "I'm not going. Just go with me." "Okay," he pleaded, his voice tinged with a hint of supplication. Her father was my most respected mentor. He sacrificed himself to save me back then, and I promised him I would take care of Xiao Wn for the rest of my life. It's always like this. Every single time, he uses his mentor as an excuse. It seems his affection for Sophia was merely out of a sense of duty, but I know, it's not. If it were just about responsibility, he wouldn't have made that choice a year ago. In the end, I still went. The birthday banquet was held at a very upscale Western restaurant. Sophia was wearing a pink princess dress, smiling like an innocent angel. She saw me and ran over affectionately, linking her arm through mine. "Sister Xiaoxi, you're finally out. I missed you so much." Her enthusiasm made me feel very uncomfortable. While we were eating, she kept putting food on my plate and telling me amusing stories about her and Ethan when they were children. Ethan looked at her, his eyes full of affection. They seemed like a couple, and I was just an unnecessary outsider. After dinner, Sophia suggested going to the rooftop to watch the stars. The wind on the rooftop was strong, making it a bit cold. Ethan took off his jacket and naturally draped it over Sophia. Sophia gave me an apologetic smile. "Sister Xiaoxi, you don't mind, do you?" "I've been afraid of the cold since I was little." I shook my head and turned my face away. "Sister Xiaoxi, look how bright that star is." Sophia suddenly pointed into the distance and said to me excitedly. I looked in the direction she pointed, but saw nothing. The moment I turned my head, she suddenly slipped and fell towards the edge of the rooftop. Ah! She let out a scream. Ethan's face changed drastically, and he rushed over, pulling her back. It all happened so fast. I didn't even have time to react. "What's going on?" Ethan asked me sternly, holding a shaken Sophia. I don't know," I said, somewhat dazed. "Brother Ethan, it's not Xiaoxi's fault." Sophia sobbed in his arms. "Maybe I just lost my balance. Xiaoxi just accidentally bumped into me." Her words were skillfully crafted. She seemed to be excusing me, but in reality, she confirmed that I had pushed her. Ethan's eyes instantly became sharp. He looked at me as if I were a sinner. "Emily, I didn't expect you to become like this." His voice was filled with disappointment and heartache. "Can't you stand her at all?" I cannot defend myself. No matter how I explained it, Ethan was convinced that I had pushed Sophia off the rooftop out of jealousy. The way he looked at me was as if he were looking at a malicious lunatic. That night, he abandoned me alone in the restaurant and took the traumatized Sophia back home. I walked alone on the streets for a long time in the dead of night. Finally, I arrived at Michael's bookstore. The bookstore was closed and dark inside. I squatted by the door, hugging my knees, feeling abandoned by the whole world. After an unknown amount of time, the bookstore door suddenly opened. Michael walked out with a jacket and draped it over me. "Why are you here alone?" His voice was still as gentle as ever. Seeing him, I couldn't hold back any longer, and tears streamed down my face. I didn't say anything. I just kept crying. He didn't ask any further questions. Just quietly stayed by my side, handing me tissue after tissue. After I had cried enough, he softly said, "Come in and sit for a while. It's cold outside." He poured me a glass of hot milk. "If you have something on your mind," saying it might make you feel better, looking into his clear eyes. I finally poured out all the grievances and pain that had been weighing on my heart. He listened quietly the entire time, without interrupting me. After I finished speaking, he finally sighed. "You've suffered." These simple 4 words, compared to Ethan's 1,000 apologies, brought me more warmth. That night, I slept on the sofa in the bookstore. It was the most peaceful sleep I had since I returned. The next day, I decided to leave. I didn't want any further entanglement with Ethan. Michael supported my decision. He said, "Wherever you want to go, I'll take you." I packed a simple suitcase and left without telling anyone. Michael drove me to the train station. Just as we were nearing the train station, Ethan's car suddenly sped up from behind and cut in front of us. He got out of his car, his face frighteningly grim. He didn't say a word, opened the car door on my side, and tried to drag me out. "Let her go." Michael immediately got out of the car to stop him. "This is between me and her, so get lost." Ethan pushed Michael away, his eyes bloodshot. "Emily, where do you think you're going? I'm telling you, you're not going anywhere without my permission." He was like an enraged lion, completely losing his mind. "Ethan, you're crazy." I screamed. "I'm crazy," he yelled. "You drove me crazy." He pulled at me forcefully. Michael also came up to help. The 3 of them started wrestling in the middle of the road. Just then, a runaway truck barreled towards us. The screech of brakes filled the air. I only felt a huge force shove me aside. When I came to my senses, Michael was already lying in a pool of blood. His white shirt was stained crimson. "Michael," I screamed his name, my heart breaking, and rushed towards him. He looked at me, his lips struggling to form a smile. He opened his mouth as if to say something, but only spat out a mouthful of blood. His eyes slowly lost their sparkle. Holding his body, which was gradually growing cold, I felt my whole world collapsing. Ethan was also stunned. He stood frozen in disbelief, watching everything unfold. The surroundings were in chaos, with some people calling the police and others calling an ambulance, and I could hear nothing at all. In my world, only that blinding red remained. That was the only light in my life. Now, it has extinguished. Michael's funeral was held on a drizzly afternoon. I stood before his tombstone, dressed all in black. On the tombstone was his gentle smiling face. I didn't cry. It felt as though my tears had already run dry that night. Ethan also came. He stood not far away, holding a black umbrella, and watched me quietly. After that day, he seemed like a changed person, no longer irritable, no longer obsessive, just silent. After the funeral was over, everyone left, and I was the only one still standing there. Ethan walked over and held the umbrella over my head. "Let's go back, it's going to rain heavily." His voice was hoarse. I didn't move, nor did I look at him. "Emily," he paused, speaking with difficulty, "I'm sorry." I finally turned my head and looked at him. His face was full of exhaustion and haggardness, with dark circles under his eyes. "Ethan," I said calmly, "take me home." He froze, as if he couldn't believe what he was hearing. "What did you say?" I said. "Let's go home," I repeated myself. His eyes immediately lit up with the ecstatic joy of having found something lost. He carefully took my hand, as if afraid I would change my mind. "Okay, let's go home." His hands were cold, and also very firm. I let him lead me, following him step by step out of the cemetery. Getting into his car, I looked back one last time. Michael's tombstone grew smaller and smaller in the rain, eventually becoming a blurry black dot. "Goodbye, Michael. Goodbye, my only light." From that day on, I felt like I had truly come to my senses. I no longer resisted Ethan's advances, nor did I argue with him. I started eating and sleeping on time, and even laughed with him. He thought I had finally forgiven him and come out of the shadows. He treated me doubly well, almost granting my every wish. He bought me a very cute kitten because I had once said I liked them. He cooked for me himself, even though it tasted terrible. He even turned down all social engagements and came home on time every day to be with me. Sophia came over a few times. When she saw that Ethan and I were back to normal, a hint of barely perceptible jealousy flashed in her eyes. But I also acted very friendly towards her. I would hold her hand and chat with her about topics that girls talk about. I would compliment her new dress and her new hairstyle. She gradually let down her guard towards me. Everyone thought we'd gone back to the past. Only I knew that some things could never be recovered from the moment I was abandoned. My heart had already died with Michael the moment he collapsed in my arms. What exists now is merely a walking corpse, a walking corpse. Living only for revenge. Ethan is the captain of the Municipal Bureau's Criminal Investigation Detachment, and he is very busy every day. He often takes unfinished case files home with him. In the past, I never cared about his work. Now, I'm starting to proactively help him share his worries. Busy again. That evening, I walked into his study with a cup of hot milk. He was frowning at a pile of documents. A serial murder case. The killer is very cunning and left no clues. He rubbed his temples, looking very tired. "I'll help you take a look too." I placed the milk by his hand and casually picked up a case file. "You?" he asked, surprised. "Aren't you afraid seeing this now?" "Not anymore." I smiled at him. "With you here, I'm not afraid of anything." My smile pleased him greatly. He didn't stop me anymore. It was a very tricky case. The victims were all young women. Their deaths were tragic, and the crime scenes were meticulously cleaned, leaving no fingerprints or DNA. The police investigated for a long time without any leads. I flipped through the case files page by page. The bloody crime scene photos didn't make me uncomfortable. I had seen worse at Kane's place. My gaze finally settled on a social relationship chart of the victims. "Are there really no commonalities between these victims?" I asked. "As it stands, yes," Ethan said. "Their professions, ages, and social circles are completely different." "No, that's not right." I shook my head. "Look, these 3 victims were all very active on the same online forum." I pointed to a small line of text on the file. That was a dark web forum I had infiltrated for a long time as an undercover agent to track a drug dealer. Ethan froze for a moment, then immediately took the file and examined it closely. Because that line of text was so inconspicuous, and the forum's name was also very common, it hadn't attracted the police's attention during previous investigations. This is just a coincidence, right? Whether it's a coincidence or not, we'll know once we check. I opened my laptop and skillfully typed in a complex string of code, gaining access to the forum's back-end database. This was a backdoor I secretly left behind when I was an undercover agent. To protect myself, Jiang, Ethan watched my actions in surprise. "You, how do you know how to do this?" "I learned it from you before," I said without looking up. "You forgot, you said it's always good to learn more." I quickly found the IDs of those victims. Then, I found their mutual friends through the back-end data. A user named Night Butcher. I pinpointed the IP address of that user. The killer should be him. I turned the computer towards Ethan. Ethan stared at the address on the screen. His face a mixture of undisguised shock and elation. He immediately called the team back and deployed the arrest operation. Before leaving, he excitedly hugged me and kissed my forehead fiercely. Xiaoxi, you are truly my lucky star. I leaned into his embrace and said with a smile, I'm glad I could help. He didn't see the coldness that flashed in my eyes. Ethan, this is just the beginning. Everything you taught me, I will now return to you tenfold. The serial murder case was quickly solved. Ethan received commendations from his superiors for his effective leadership. Everyone in the team praised him highly. Ethan gave me all the credit. He told everyone he met that I was the one who gave him the inspiration to solve the case. Before I knew it, I had become a rather well-known detective's wife. In their unit, Ethan trusted and depended on me even more. He even gave me a key to his study, so I could go in and help him organize his materials anytime. I took this opportunity to access more of the cases he handled. I discovered that while Ethan was very capable, he had a fatal flaw. He trusted his own judgment too much and could be rather self-willed at times. And he has an almost blind protectiveness towards Sophia, as long as it concerns Sophia. His principles and bottom line can be compromised time and again. I began to use this without making a sound. Ethan is currently working on a major cross-border drug trafficking case. The ringleader is called Dragon King, cunning and cruel. Police informants followed him for a long time before finally pinpointing one of his transaction locations. The night before the operation, Ethan was in his study holding a video conference to deploy operational details. I was watching TV in the living room with the volume turned up high. Ethan came out and told me twice to keep it down. I smiled apologetically and turned the volume down, but it wasn't long before I turned it back up. He walked back and forth like this several times. He didn't notice that my phone, which I had left on the coffee table, had been in recording mode the whole time. The next day, the arrest operation failed. The Dragon King seemed to have received advance notice, and the police came up empty. Everyone in the team was dejected. Ethan was especially down, locking himself in his office and not coming out all day. I knew he must be suspecting there was a mole within the team. That evening, he returned home with a grim expression. I prepared dinner for him as usual. Don't dwell on it too much. Let's eat. I picked up a piece of food for him with my chopsticks. He didn't have much appetite, and after picking at his food for a couple of bites, he put down his chopsticks. Xiaoxi, do you think it might be someone from within our ranks? No way, I interrupted him. How can you doubt the brothers who went through thick and thin with you? I paused, then said casually, could it be that someone overheard the action plan while it was being formulated? His expression changed. Impossible. The meeting was held in my study, and it was absolutely confidential. So, is it possible someone overheard you when you were on the phone? I reminded him cautiously. I was on a video conference that day, not a phone call. He suddenly remembered something and stood up abruptly. No, that night, I asked you to turn down the TV volume. And you went back and forth several times. His gaze fell on the TV in the living room, and his expression grew increasingly grim. He realized that walls have ears, and his next-door neighbor was a tenant who had just moved in a few days prior. He immediately sent people to investigate the tenant. The results showed that the tenant disappeared on the night of the failed operation. Everyone believed that the tenant had eavesdropped on the operation plan and tipped them off. No one suspected me. No one suspected me. Ethan even blamed himself, thinking he was too careless and hadn't done a good job of keeping things secret. He held me and said with lingering fear, "Luckily you reminded me, otherwise I almost would have suspected one of our own." Leaning against him, my heart felt ice cold. That recording was sent by me using an encrypted number to the Dragon King's subordinate within the country. In exchange, they gave me a large sum of money. And that neighbor was also a scapegoat I found with that money. Ethan, you would never have imagined that the person you trusted most, the one lying beside you, was the real mole. The operation to apprehend the Dragon King failed, making Ethan's position in the bureau somewhat precarious, although a scapegoat was found. The losses incurred were still immense. His superiors were quite critical of him. His adversary, Deputy Captain Lee Rui, even fanned the flames, saying Ethan was stubborn and self-willed, and no longer suitable to be the overall commander. Ethan's stress was immense, and his temper grew increasingly volatile. Only in front of me would he let down all his guard. Those old geezers, all they know is how to stab you in the back. He returned home drunk. Tossing his coat onto the sofa with force, I walked over and silently picked up his jacket and hung it up. Don't be angry, I believe you can catch the Dragon King. I poured him a glass of honey water. Only you, he said, taking my hand, his eyes red. Only you still believe in me. I looked at his vulnerable appearance without a ripple of emotion. Just then, his phone rang. It was Sophia calling. As soon as he saw the caller ID, he was already more than half awake. He walked to the balcony to take the call, his voice very low, but I could still vaguely hear some of it. Don't be afraid, I'll be there soon. Don't overthink things. After hanging up, he picked up his jacket and was about to leave. Where are you going so late? I asked. Xiao Wn is in trouble. I have to go see her. His tone was anxious. What trouble could she be in? She's being followed and is scared. It's like this again. Sophia always had all sorts of reasons to call him away late at night. I watched his retreating figure with a cold smile playing on my lips. Sophia, it's time we settled our score. The next day, I accidentally found a pawn ticket in Ethan's pocket. It was from a pawn shop called Yongshin Pawn Shop. I know this pawn shop. The owner is a triad member, specializing in shady dealings. I took the pawn ticket and found Sophia. She was at a high-end cafe, having afternoon tea with a friend. She seemed a bit surprised to see me. Sister Xiaoxi, what brings you here? I came to bring you something. I placed the pawn ticket in front of her. When she saw the pawn ticket, her face instantly turned pale. What is this? I don't know anything about it. She tried to push the pawn ticket away, but her hands were trembling. You don't know, I smiled. Sophia, you must be very aware of the value of the antiques your father left behind. Sophia's father, Ethan's mentor, was on the surface a distinguished old policeman, but in secret, he colluded with the underworld and received a lot of illicit money. He converted all that money into valuable antiques and hid them in a very secret place. After his death, this became a secret. Ethan has been keeping this under wraps to protect his teacher's image. He thought Sophia knew nothing about this. But he didn't know that Sophia had already found the antiques and was secretly selling them. I don't know what you're talking about. Sophia's voice was a little sharp, drawing the attention of those around her. The owner of Yongshin Pawn Shop isn't someone to be trifled with, I said leisurely. If he finds out you tried to cheat him with fake goods, what do you think he'll do to you? Sophia was completely flustered. What do you want? I don't want anything, I said, looking into her terrified eyes, enunciating each word. I just want you to know that everything you've done will leave a mark. I stood up and left, leaving a pale-faced Sophia behind. I knew she would go to Ethan. As expected, Ethan came back that evening to question me. You went to see Xiaowan. What did you say to her? His tone was aggressive, as if he were interrogating a prisoner. I just gave this back to her. I threw him a copy of another pawn ticket. That's the pawn ticket Sophia used for the genuine article I found. He looked at the amount above, and the amount that Sophia tearfully accused him of pawning her father's only memento for didn't match at all. Ethan's expression turned incredibly ugly in an instant. He always thought Sophia was a pure and kind little rabbit. He had always thought that Sophia was the sister he needed to protect his entire life. Now, the image he had tried so hard to uphold was shattered. Why did she lie to me? He murmured to himself, his eyes full of pain and confusion. I looked at his collapsing world and felt no joy in my heart. Jiang, I looked at his collapsing world and felt no joy in my heart. Only a desolate silence. Ethan, this isn't enough. What I want is to personally destroy everything you possess. Sophia's incident dealt a huge blow to Ethan. His trust in Sophia completely shattered. He didn't come home for several days after that, sleeping at the station the whole time. I knew he needed time to process it all, and I used this time to complete the final step of my plan. I anonymously sent the original recording of the leaked operation plan, along with a falsified operation log, to the City Bureau's Internal Affairs Division. In that log, I meticulously recorded how Ethan, the night before the operation, spoke with Sophia and accidentally leaked key information about the operation. I also recorded that after Ethan discovered Sophia selling the stolen goods, he chose to conceal it and not report it in order to protect her. All the evidence formed a perfect closed loop. This painted Ethan as someone who bent the law for personal reasons and harbored criminals. Having done all that, I erased all traces. Then, as if nothing had happened, I made soup and went to see Ethan at the precinct. He was surprised to see me. "What are you doing here? Seeing as you haven't been home for a few days, I brought you some soup." I opened the thermos and served him a bowl of soup. He looked at me, his eyes full of complex emotions. "Xiaoxi, I'm sorry. A few days ago, I was in the wrong. It's all in the past," I said with a smile. "Drink up, it'll get cold soon." He took the soup and drank it spoonful by spoonful. Just then, several people in uniform, with serious expressions, walked into his office. Leading them was Director Zhong from the inspectorate. "Comrade Ethan, we have received a report suspecting you are involved in the failure of the Dragon King case and are suspected of harboring criminals. Please come with us for an investigation." Ethan's hand dropped the bowl with a clatter. He stood up abruptly, looking at them in disbelief. "What are you saying? This is impossible. Someone is framing me. We are also following regulations," Director Zhong said expressionlessly. "Rest assured, the organization will investigate thoroughly. We will not wrong a good person, nor will we let a bad person go." Ethan was taken away. As he passed by me, he stopped and looked at me deeply. In his eyes, there was confusion, bewilderment, and a hint of emotion that I couldn't understand. I smiled at him, a smile so cold it pierced the bone. A smile he had never seen before. "Ethan," I whispered in a voice only we could hear, "remember, you said you wanted to teach me a lesson." His pupils instantly constricted. "I am awake now. It's you." His voice was filled with shock and disbelief. "It's me," I said, looking at his instantly ashen face. "You taught me to get the biggest benefit for the smallest cost. I'm just putting what you taught me to use." "Why?" "No reason why," I interrupted him. "I just want to get what's rightfully mine." He was taken away like a dog whose spine had been removed. I stood there, watching his dejected back, and finally, I let out a long sigh of relief. It's all over. Ethan's case was investigated for a long time. In the end, he was expelled from the police force and sentenced for serious disciplinary violations. Sophia also faced legal consequences for selling stolen goods and providing false testimony. They all got what they deserved. I left the city that was suffocating me. I sold everything Ethan bought for me and only took the succulent Michael gave me. Using the money the Dragon King gave me, I opened a bookstore in a small seaside town. The bookstore's name was Mo. The shop wasn't large, much like Michael's bookstore from my memory. I also learned from his example and kept many green plants in the shop. Life was very peaceful. Every day I open the shop, read books, bask in the sun, and take care of my flowers and plants. I no longer have nightmares. Only occasionally do I still think of Michael. I remember his gentle smile, and the hand that offered me warm milk. He is the only light that has ever illuminated my life. Although it was brief, it was enough to warm the long years of the rest of my life. This day, a little girl came to the store. She pointed to the succulent on the windowsill and asked me, "Sister, what's this little plant called? It's so cute." I patted her head and said with a smile, "It doesn't have a name. But it represents hope." The little girl nodded, as if she understood but didn't quite grasp it. I looked out the window. The sea was shimmering, and a flock of seagulls was flying freely. I know, I am not happy. But I found peace. That's enough. Next, we'll tell you the second story. If you think this episode is good, please subscribe. Your support is our greatest motivation. I felt a chill all over my body, not from the cold, but from fear, a fear that seeped out from the marrow of my bones. My eyelids felt heavy as if filled with lead, too heavy to open. All I could hear was a buzzing sound around me, interspersed with the sharp clink of metal. Each sound striking my heart and making me tremble all over. "Quick, get them onto the operating table. Don't waste time." A hoarse male voice echoed in my ear. I felt someone grab my arm with a strength that could crush my bones, dragging me forcefully towards a hard, cold surface. I can't forget that sensation. Like touching a piece of iron in winter, so cold it made me shudder. I wanted to speak, to ask what they were doing, but my mouth felt glued shut, unable to utter a sound. All I could manage were muffled groans, and my limbs were so weak, I couldn't even struggle. This little girl is quite heavy, and Mr. Donovan is waiting, another voice said, with a hint of impatience. Mr. Donovan, my mind buzzed. I knew that name, but why was he looking for me? I had no feud with him. What did he want with me? As I was lost in my thoughts, someone started tugging at my clothes. The force was particularly rough, the fabric rubbing against my skin, making me feel nauseous. I panicked and desperately tried to twist my body, but it was no use. They held me down as if I were a chicken. What are you doing? Don't touch my clothes. I finally managed to squeeze out a few words, my voice hoarse and trembling, with a sob, but no one paid attention to me. They just kept pulling. I could hear the sound of my clothes tearing, a sharp rip that was particularly grating. The cold wind rushed in, and goosebumps rose all over my body. I was both ashamed and scared. And tears immediately welled up, flowing down the corners of my eyes and into my ears, cold and clammy. Save yourself the trouble. Now that you're here, just be obedient, the gruff voice from before said again. Mr. Donovan said that if they take out your lung, they can still get some money for it. So it won't be a total waste. Remove my lung. My mind went blank, as if struck by lightning. That's one of my organs. Can I even live after that? How can they be so heartless? No. You can't take it. I want to live, I shouted with all my might, but my voice was still weak, barely audible to those nearby. Just then, a slightly gentler female voice spoke, sounding like a nurse. Mr. Donovan, this lady doesn't have any anesthetic. If you remove her lung so directly, she definitely won't be able to handle it. What if something goes wrong? A glimmer of hope ignited in my heart. That's right. Without anesthesia, they couldn't be so heartless, could they? But before I could relax, a cold male voice reached me. The voice was incredibly chilling, like ice shards in midwinter, striking me with pain. No anesthesia, then no anesthesia. What's with all the nonsense? Do as I say, and I'll take responsibility if anything goes wrong. It was Mr. Donovan. I recognized him immediately. How could he be so cold-blooded? Just to sell my organs, he wouldn't even give me anesthesia. What's the difference between that and killing me outright? Mr. Donovan. This is too cruel. She's so young. If you do this, she'll die from the pain. The nurse pleaded, her voice tinged with desperation. It's her fate to die in pain. Mr. Donovan's voice was devoid of emotion. Get it done quickly. Don't waste my time. I could feel something cold touching my chest, likely a scalpel. I trembled with fear, my tears flowing more profusely. I kept muttering, don't touch me. Please, don't remove my lung lobe. I'll give you money. All my money. Is that okay? But no one paid attention to me. All I could hear were the sounds of metal instruments and Mr. Donovan's chilling breaths. I knew they were determined to remove my lung lobe. I closed my eyes in despair, with only one thought. I might really die here. The moment the cold scalpel touched my chest, I flinched as if burned. It wasn't pain, but a bone-chilling fear that made me afraid to even breathe loudly. I could clearly feel the blade lightly scratch my skin, a cool trace, followed by a searing pain, as if countless needles were piercing my flesh. Ah, it hurts. Stop it, please, I beg you. I cried out in pain, my voice cracking. Tears streamed down my face, mixing with sweat and soaking a small patch of the operating table's cloth. I tried to swat the thing away, but my arms were held down so tightly by two burly men that I couldn't move at all. I could only watch helplessly as the scalpel dangled before my eyes. The nurse spoke again, her voice trembling slightly. Mr. Donovan, look how much pain she's in. How about we find some anesthetic? Even a little would be better. She really can't take much more of this. I quickly chimed in with my plea. Mr. Donovan, I'm begging you, give me some anesthetic. I promise I'll do whatever you say from now on, anything you want. Just don't do this to me, okay? I knew I was rambling incoherently, but I was desperate, as long as it meant I wouldn't be in so much pain. I'd do anything. Mr. Donovan didn't say anything. I could feel his gaze on me, sharp as a knife. making my skin tighten. After a long moment, he finally spoke slowly, his voice as cold as ever. Anesthetic. Can you afford to make up for the lost time? The client is waiting. If we miss the deadline, can you handle the responsibility? The nurse stopped talking, likely choked by Mr. Donovan's words. The sliver of hope I had was instantly extinguished, leaving me as cold as an ice cellar. I knew Mr. Donovan was determined to put me to death. He cared nothing for my pain or my life. Mr. Donovan. But this is too inhumane, a younger male voice interjected. It sounded like an intern, full of hesitation. Inhumane. Mr. Donovan let out a cold laugh that sent shivers down my spine. In my world, there's only money and profit, no humanity. If you don't want to do it, get out now. Plenty of people want your spot. The young doctor immediately fell silent. I could hear him sigh softly, followed by the clinking of instruments, suggesting they were preparing to begin. I was completely desperate, muttering, "Mr. Donovan, what did I ever do to offend you? Tell me, and I'll change. Okay, please don't take out my lung lobe, I still want to live. My parents are waiting for me to come home." Thinking of my parents, my heart ached even more. If I died here, how heartbroken would they be? But Mr. Donovan still ignored me. Instead, he said to the person next to him, "Stop wasting time with her. Get it done quickly." As soon as he spoke, I felt the wound in my chest being forced open. A pain that tore my heart to shreds instantly spread through my entire body. The pain made my vision go black, my ears buzzed, and I couldn't hear anything but a beast-like roar. This wasn't ordinary pain, it was the kind of pain where flesh is torn from bone. Piece by piece, I felt my internal organs aching with it, and all the strength drained from my body, leaving only uncontrollable trembling. "Ah, it hurts. I'm dying of pain. Mr. Donovan, I beg you, just kill me. It would be better to be killed than to suffer this pain." I screamed until my voice was hoarse, tears and snot streaming down my face. But the pain didn't lessen at all, it only grew more intense. I could feel someone fumbling around in my chest, and with every movement, I twitched in pain. I wanted to pass out, but my consciousness was unnervingly clear, and the pain of every second was etched vividly in my mind. "Mr. Donovan, we're almost there. A little more force and it should come out." A doctor's voice sounded, tinged with fatigue. Mr. Donovan responded with an unruffled "Just get it out, don't damage it. The client wants it intact." Hearing this, I was filled with a mixture of hatred and despair. He was actually worried about damaging the lung lobe, but not about whether I would die. What sin did I commit to deserve such suffering? Just as I was about to collapse from the pain, I suddenly felt a lightness in my chest, followed by a rush of warmth. My lung must have been removed. In that instant, my breathing became difficult, and I felt as weak as a puddle of mud, unable to even scream. I could only gasp for air, with tears streaming down my face. I thought that was the end of it, but I didn't expect the doctor next to me to say, "Mr. Donovan, now that the lung lobe has been removed, what about the subsequent hemostasis and suturing? Without anesthesia, she definitely won't be able to endure it." Mr. Donovan was silent for a moment, then said, "Just stitch it up, stop the bleeding, and make sure she doesn't die here. That's all you need to worry about." Hearing those words, my heart sank completely. He wouldn't even let me stitch myself up properly. Was he planning to just let me fend for myself? After an unknown amount of time, I groggily woke up. The moment I opened my eyes, I saw a stark white ceiling, and the air was filled with a faint smell of disinfectant and a hint of blood, which made me feel nauseous. I tried to move, but as soon as I exerted myself, a sharp pain shot through my chest, more intense than during surgery. It felt like countless needles were pricking my wound, or as if someone was violently tearing my flesh. I gasped with a hiss and immediately stopped moving. Lying still and taking deep breaths, a sheen of cold sweat instantly broke out on my forehead. At that moment, a woman in a grey outfit entered. She appeared to be in her 30s, with a blank expression on her face. She was carrying a metal tray with a bowl and a cloth on it. She walked to the bedside, placed the tray on the nightstand, and said coldly, "You're awake, so drink your medicine. Don't expect me to feed you." I looked at the bowl of medicine, It was dark, steaming, and smelled incredibly bitter. I was already weak, and my chest hurt terribly, so I had no appetite for medicine. I whispered, I don't have the strength, could you help me? The woman glared at me and her tone worsened. No strength? If you have no strength, you have to drink it yourself. Mr. Donovan said if you don't drink, you'll go hungry and no one will take care of you. I felt a surge of injustice but didn't dare say anything more. I could only grit my teeth and slowly raise my hand, intending to pick up the bowl, but as soon as I lifted my hand, the pain in my chest intensified, and I couldn't help but groan, my hand trembling. The woman sighed impatiently, reached out, picked up the bowl, and brought it to my lips. Drink up, don't dawdle, I have other things to do. I had no choice but to lean closer and sip the medicine little by little. The medicine was incredibly bitter, so bitter that my tongue went numb, and tears almost welled up again. I held back, finishing the entire bowl of medicine. After drinking the medicine, the woman picked up a cloth, dipped it in water, and roughly wiped my face a couple of times, like she was cleaning a table, not gentle at all. After wiping, she threw the cloth back into the basin and said, "From today onwards, you're staying here, don't even think about escaping. There are people watching outside. I'll bring you 3 meals a day, and you have to take your medicine on time. If you dare to disobey, you'll regret it." I asked her, When can I leave? My parents don't know I'm here, they'll be worried about me." The woman sneered, "Leave? You're still thinking about leaving. Mr. Donovan didn't kill you on the operating table, so you should be grateful. How dare you think about leaving? Just stay here obediently. As for your parents, whether they know or not has nothing to do with me." After speaking, she took the basin and left, slamming the door hard as she went out, the bang making me flinch all over. I was left alone in the room. It was so quiet I could only hear my own breathing. I lay there, my chest aching with each breath, and my heart felt heavy. I couldn't understand why Mr. Donovan had done this to me. We knew each other, but we had no prior conflict. How could he be so heartless, not even giving me anesthesia to sell my organs, and then treating me like this after the surgery, refusing to even let me contact my family? After a while, I felt a bit hungry and wanted to find something to eat, but there was nothing on the bedside table except the empty bowl from earlier. I wanted to call for someone, but I was afraid the woman would come back and scold me, so I just endured it. I waited until the afternoon when the woman came back. This time with a bowl of congee and a steamed bun. She placed them on the bedside table and said, "Eat quickly, and when you're done, wash the bowl and put it back." I picked up the steamed bun and took a bite. It was dry and tasteless. The congee was also watery, with very few grains of rice. But I was too hungry to care and forced myself to eat it. After I finished, I washed the bowl clean as she had instructed and put it back on the plate. At night, the pain in my chest worsened, and I tossed and turned, unable to sleep, so I could only lie there with my eyes open, staring at the ceiling. I thought of my parents, of how when I was at home, they always saved the best things for me. If I got sick, they would stay by my side and take care of me. But now, I'm suffering so much, and they don't know anything about it. I miss them so much. The more I thought about it, the sadder I became, and I couldn't help but cry again. I secretly vowed in my heart that I must survive and get out of here. I must find Mr. Donovan and ask him why he treated me this way. I must also let my parents know that I am still alive. But I also know that saying these things now is useless. I'm trapped here and can't even leave the room. I can only try to survive and wait for an opportunity. I touched the wound on my chest. Although it hurt a lot, I knew that as long as I was alive, there was hope. The days that followed felt like being in prison. Every day, besides eating, taking medicine, and sleeping, there was nothing else to do. The woman in the grey clothes, I later learned her surname was Wang, and everyone called her Aunt Wang. She brought me 3 meals and medicine once a day. She never had a pleasant expression, spoke very little, and refused to answer any of my questions. My wounds have slowly healed a bit, no longer as piercingly painful as they were at first, but I still can't exert myself too much. If I strain, my chest feels tight and I can't breathe smoothly. I know that with one lung lobe removed, I might suffer like this for the rest of my life. The thought of it fills me with both hatred and a sense of injustice, but I haven't forgotten about finding the truth. I can't just have a lung lobe removed and be trapped in this godforsaken place without understanding why. So, every day when Aunt comes, I pay close attention to her every move, trying to get some information out of her. One morning, as Aunt was leaving after bringing my medicine, I quickly called out to her, "Aunt, please wait a moment." She stopped, turned around, and glared at me. "What is it now?" "I'm busy," I said cautiously. "I just wanted to ask, is Mr. Donovan, is he doing okay recently?" I didn't dare ask directly why Mr. Donovan was harming me, fearing she would become suspicious, so I had to start by probing indirectly. Aunt frowned and said in a bad tone, "You should ask less about Mr. Donovan's affairs, it has nothing to do with you." I quickly forced a smile and said, "I'm not trying to pry, I just feel that Mr. Donovan is a good person. He even helped me before, I just don't know what I did wrong this time to make him so angry." I deliberately made up this sentence to see her reaction. Aunt sneered, "A good person? You must be blind." After speaking, she seemed to realize she had said too much, quickly shut her mouth, turned, and left, slamming the door shut with a bang. My heart skipped a beat. What did Aunt mean? Was Mr. Donovan not a good person usually? Was he pretending to be nice to me before? But I didn't have much interaction with him, only met him a few times at a party before. He helped me out of an awkward situation once, and that was it. Why would he go to the trouble of pretending to be a good person? From then on, I paid even more attention. Sometimes when Aunt delivered things, she would chat with someone outside the door for a few minutes. Her voice wasn't loud, but I would tiptoe to the door and hold my breath to listen carefully. One time, I heard Aunt talking to a man. The man's voice was unfamiliar. I only heard the man say, "Aunt, do you think Mr. Donovan was too ruthless this time? That girl doesn't seem like a bad person. Why does he have to take her lung lobe?" Aunt sighed. "Who knows? I heard it seems to be related to Mrs. Lynn. Mrs. Lynn had lung problems a while ago and urgently needed a transplant. Mr. Donovan searched for a long time but couldn't find a suitable one. Later, I don't know how, he found this girl, Mrs. Lynn." My heart skipped a beat. I seemed to recall hearing someone mention that Mr. Donovan had a woman he cherished deeply, named Lynn, who wasn't in good health. Could it be that because of this Mrs. Lynn needed a lung, Mr. Donovan would take mine for her? This is too preposterous. Why should her need for a lung cost me my life? I wanted to hear more, but the voices outside suddenly stopped. They must have left. I leaned against the door, feeling both angry and confused. If it was true, as Aunt said, then Mr. Donovan was truly inhuman. To harm someone else's life for the woman he loved, but I was also puzzled. Even if Mrs. Lynn needed a lung, couldn't they find a proper donor? Why me specifically? Was there something else going on here? 2 days later, I found another opportunity to talk to Aunt. That day, as she brought my dinner, I deliberately said, "Aunt, I've been coughing a lot lately. Could you please ask Mr. Donovan to get me some better medicine? I'm worried that if this illness doesn't get better, it will cause trouble." Aunt gave me a look. "You still want to talk to Mr. Donovan? Don't dream about it. Mr. Donovan is busy accompanying Mrs. Lynn now. He doesn't have time for you." I quickly asked, "Is Mrs. Lynn's illness cured?" Aunt nodded. "I heard the transplant was quite successful, and she's recovering now. Mr. Donovan is very attentive to her, staying by her side every day." The anger surged within me. So Mr. Donovan really did take my lung for that Mrs. Lynn. He disregarded my life to save the woman he liked, treating me as a tool for organ donation. I suppressed my anger and asked, Then why me specifically? Out of so many people, why choose me?" Aunt didn't leave immediately this time. She hesitated, then said softly, "I don't know the specifics. I just heard them say someone told Mr. Donovan that your lungs were a particularly good match for Mrs. Lynn, and you don't have much of a background, so even if something happened, no one would bother Mr. Donovan. No background. Just because I have no background and am easy to bully, he dares to treat me like this." I was so angry I was trembling all over, and my tears were about to fall. Who did I offend? Just because I have no power and no influence, I have to be bullied like this. And can't even protect my own organs. Aunt seemed to see my sadness, or perhaps felt pity for me, and sighed, all right, stop asking, knowing too much won't do you any good. Just stay here obediently, Mr. Donovan hasn't said you can leave, so don't even think about going out. After she spoke, she left. I sat on the bed, my mind a complete mess. Although I understood the general reason, I still didn't understand who the person was that told Mr. Donovan my lungs were suitable. Why is he targeting me? Also, is Mr. Donovan really so cold-blooded that for Mrs. Lin, he has no humanity at all? I knew now wasn't the time to be angry. I had to find a way to learn more. Find the person who stabbed me in the back, and more importantly, find a way out. I couldn't be trapped here for the rest of my life. From then on, I paid more attention to the movements around me. Sometimes at night, I would hear footsteps outside and people talking. So I would quietly climb to the window and peek out through the gap in the curtains. Although I could only see a little, I still hoped to see something useful. One time, I saw a black sedan parked downstairs. A man in a suit got out of the car and went into the building opposite. I looked at the car and it seemed particularly familiar, as if I had seen it before outside Mr. Donovan's company. Could it be someone from Mr. Donovan's place? What was he doing here? Was he here to see me, or was there something else? As I was staring, someone suddenly patted my shoulder. I was so startled I almost screamed. I turned around and it was Aunt. Her face was grim. What are you doing here? Who told you to look out the window? I quickly lowered my head and said in a small voice, I was just feeling bored. I wanted to look outside. Aunt said angrily, you can't be bored either, Mr. Donovan said not to let you look outside casually. If you see something you shouldn't, you'll be in trouble. After speaking, she pulled me back to the bed and drew the curtains even tighter. I felt a little scared, but I was also more certain that there was something fishy going on here. Mr. Donovan definitely didn't want me to know more, but I wouldn't give up, no matter how difficult it was. I had to find out all the truth and get an explanation for myself. Ever since Aunt discovered me looking out the window, she's been stricter with me. Every time she brought things, she would specifically check if the curtains were properly drawn and would add a reminder, don't think about things you shouldn't. But my desire to find the truth and get out of here hasn't diminished at all, it's only gotten stronger. About half a month passed. One morning, the person who came to deliver things wasn't Aunt, but a young stranger. He looked to be in his early 20s, wearing a blue work uniform, carrying a food tray, and smiling a little shyly. I was sitting on the edge of the bed, lost in thought, and I was startled when I saw him come in. Who are you? I asked him. Where is Auntie? The young man placed the meal tray on the bedside table, scratched his head, and said, Auntie took the day off due to some family matters. She asked me to deliver this for her today. My name is Xiao Ju, and I'm a temporary worker here. I nodded and said no more, but my mind started buzzing. Since he was a temporary worker, he might be easier to talk to, and I might be able to get something out of him. Xiao Ju stood beside me, and seeing that I hadn't touched my chopsticks, he added, the porridge is still hot. Please eat it quickly. It won't taste as good when it gets cold. I glanced up at him and found his gaze quite kind. Unlike Aunt's cold demeanor, I hesitated for a moment and tentatively asked, Xiao Ju, how long have you been working here? Just a few days. I'm just here to help. Xiao Ju said with a smile, the work here isn't heavy, it's just delivering things and tidying up. Then do you know what kind of place this is? I asked in a low voice, staring intently at him, afraid he would be as unwilling to talk as Aunt. Xiao Ju paused for a moment, then looked around and lowered his voice, saying, I'm not too sure either. I just heard them say this is Mr. Donovan's private property, specifically used to house some special people, a special person. My heart skipped a beat. Then do you know why I'm here? Xiao Ju shook his head. I don't know, I just got here and didn't dare to ask around, but you don't look like a bad person. So why are you locked up here? I sighed and briefly told him that Mr. Donovan had removed my lung lobes, of course. I didn't dare to go into too much detail, for fear of scaring him. Xiao Ju's eyes widened in disbelief after listening. There's such a thing. Mr. Donovan seems quite refined. How could he do something so ruthless? He's such a hypocrite. I couldn't help but say, my voice filled with hatred. Xiaoju quickly said, "Don't speak so loudly. If others hear you, it'll be trouble." I quickly shut my mouth and nodded. After a moment, I gathered my courage and asked him, "Xiaoju, can you do me a favor?" Xiaoju looked at me, hesitating a bit. "What do you want me to do? If it's too dangerous, I might." "It's not dangerous, not dangerous," I quickly said. "I just want you to help me call my parents and tell them I'm alive so they don't worry. My parents only have me as their daughter, and I'm afraid they'll think something happened to me and won't be able to handle it." As I spoke, tears involuntarily fell. Xiaoju looked at me crying, a sympathetic expression on his face. He thought for a moment and said, "All right, I'll try to help you, but I can only go out after work in the evening, and I have to be careful not to let anyone know. Tell me your home phone number, and I'll try tonight." When I heard this, hope immediately ignited in my heart, and I was so excited I almost jumped up, but my chest hurt, and I quickly sat back down. I quickly told him my home phone number and repeatedly urged him, "You must tell my parents not to worry, that I will find a way to get out, and that they must not come looking for me. Mr. Donovan has great influence, and I'm afraid something might happen to them." Xiaoju nodded. "I've got it. Don't worry, I'll definitely call them tonight." After speaking, Xiaoju left. I sat on the edge of the bed, filled with excitement and anticipation, feeling like I had finally seen a glimmer of hope after such a long time. I imagined my parents' reactions when they received the call. They would surely be both happy and worried, perhaps even crying. But no matter what, as long as they knew I was alive, that would be enough. I had no appetite all day. My mind completely occupied with Xiaoju calling my parents. I worried that Xiaoju might forget, then I worried that he might be discovered, my heart in a constant state of unease. Finally, evening arrived, and Aunt came to deliver dinner. Seeing her made me a little nervous, afraid she might discover that Xiaoju had helped me. But Aunt was her usual self, showing no signs of abnormality. She left after delivering the food. I sat on the edge of the bed, waiting until midnight. But there was no news from Xiaoju. I started to panic a little. Had Xiaoju not found an opportunity to call, or had something happened? The next morning, Xiaoju came to deliver the items again. As soon as I saw him, I quickly asked, "Xiaoju, did you call my parents yesterday? What did they say?" Xiaoju's expression was a bit grim. He lowered his head and said softly, "I'm sorry, I wasn't able to make the call yesterday, when I left work at night. I noticed someone was following me. I was afraid of being discovered, so I didn't dare to make the call." My heart sank immediately, but I still comforted him. It's okay, just try again today, and be careful." Xiaoju nodded. "Okay, I'll try again today, don't worry." In the following days, every time Xiaoju came, he said he hadn't found an opportunity. He would either say someone was following him or that his phone was dead. The hope in my heart sank little by little. But I still didn't want to give up, always feeling that Xiaoju would help me. Until the 5th day, the person delivering things changed back to Aunt. My heart skipped a beat, and I quickly asked, "Aunt, where is Xiaoju? Why didn't he come?" Aunt gave me a side eye. "Xiaoju, he was fired." My heart tightened. "Why, what did he do wrong?" Aunt sneered. "What other mistake could he have made? He dared to speak carelessly outside and was discovered by Mr. Donovan's people. If he wasn't fired, what would be the point of keeping him?" When I heard this, I immediately panicked. Was Xiaoju fired because he helped me? I quickly asked, "What did he say? Was it because of me?" Aunt glared at me. "Don't you worry about it. I warn you, don't think about finding anyone else to help you. It's useless. Here, Mr. Donovan's word is law, and anyone who dares to disobey will not have a good end. Xiaoju is an example." After speaking, Aunt left. I sat on the edge of the bed, tears streaming down my face. I knew my hope was dashed again, and I had even implicated Xiaoju. I felt sad and guilty, thinking that if I hadn't asked Xiaoju to help me, he wouldn't have been fired. I hated him, hated Mr. Donovan's domineering nature, and hated my own incompetence. Why is it so difficult even to report my safety to my parents? Why is it so hard for me to go out? That night, I cried for a long time. The wound on my chest seemed to start hurting again. hurting so much that I couldn't breathe. I lay on the bed, staring at the pale ceiling, my heart filled with despair. I even started to wonder if I would really be trapped here for the rest of my life. Just as I was about to give up, I remembered my parents. They were still waiting for me to come home. And I couldn't give up like this. Even if Xiaoju couldn't help me, I had to find a way myself. One day, I will get out, I will find the truth, and I will make Mr. Donovan pay for what he has done. Ever since then, I've become more cautious. I no longer talk to people easily or pry into things carelessly. But the fire in my heart burned even stronger. I knew that only by enduring, by waiting, could I find an opportunity. I believed that heaven wouldn't be unfair forever. One day, it would give me a chance to escape this hellhole. I never saw Xiaoju again after he was fired, and I don't know what happened to him afterward. I felt both guilty and scared. Guilty because I had implicated him, and scared because Mr. Donovan discovered the commotion so quickly. And he would definitely monitor me more strictly from now on. As expected, Aunt's attitude towards me worsened after that. When she brought me food, she would either say nothing or make sarcastic remarks. Sometimes she would even deliberately bring it late, making me go hungry. I didn't dare to argue with her and could only endure it. I knew that if I caused trouble with her now, I would be the one to suffer. The days passed one by one, monotonous and painful. Every day, besides eating and sleeping, I would stare blankly at the pale white wall. Although the wound on my chest had healed, it still felt stuffy and painful whenever I exerted myself a little, making it difficult to breathe. Sometimes at night, I would suddenly wake up gasping for air, feeling as if a stone was pressing on my chest, making it impossible to breathe. I began to miss my old life, the time I spent eating and chatting with my parents, the joy of shopping and watching movies with my friends. But now, those had become distant dreams. I didn't know how my parents were. Were they still looking for me? Did they think I was no longer alive? The thought of it tore at my heart like a knife. One time, Aunt, when she came to deliver medicine, I gathered my courage and asked her, "Aunt, my parents, are they okay? Can you help me find out?" Aunt stopped, looked back at me, with no trace of sympathy in her eyes, but with a hint of mockery. "Why bother asking about them? You can't even protect yourself. And you're still concerned about others. I advise you to stop thinking about it. Mr. Donovan won't let you have any contact with the outside world." I wanted to ask more, but Aunt had already turned and left, leaving me alone sitting by the bed, tears streaming down my face. I knew that Aunt was telling the truth. Mr. Donovan definitely wouldn't let me contact my parents. He just wanted to keep me trapped here forever, to make me disappear from this world. But I was unwilling. I didn't want to be trapped here for the rest of my life. I started trying to observe the room, looking for an opportunity to escape. The room was very small, with only a bed, a nightstand, and a bathroom. The window was fitted with anti-theft bars, and the door was a particularly thick iron door that couldn't be opened from the inside at all. I tried smashing the window with something, but the anti-theft bars were too strong to break. I also tried prying the door, but there was no place to get a grip on the doorknob. Every attempt ended in failure, and the despair in my heart grew deeper. Sometimes, I even thought that instead of living such a painful life, it would be better to die. But when I thought of my parents, I couldn't bear it. I hadn't said goodbye to them yet, hadn't let them know I was still alive. I couldn't just die like this. And so, a year passed, then 2 years. I spent countless lonely and painful nights and days in this small room. I can no longer remember what the outside world looked like, nor what I used to look like. I wear the same old grey clothes every day, and my hair has grown very long and messy, like a madwoman's. Aunt still came to deliver things every day. She still spoke very little, but occasionally she would tell me a few things about the outside world. From her words, I knew that Mr. Donovan and that Mrs. Lin were doing well. Mrs. Lin was getting healthier and healthier, and Mr. Donovan's business was growing larger and larger, making him a famous figure in the city. Every time I heard this, the hatred in my heart grew stronger. Why could Mr. Donovan, who had done so many bad things, live so well, while I had to endure so much pain here? It's not fair. One winter, it was extremely cold, and there was no heating in the room. I was shivering from the cold. My old chest injury also started to ache, making it impossible for me to sleep for nights on end. I curled up in bed, feeling like I couldn't hold on any longer. I thought, if I were to freeze to death or die from the pain, would I finally be free? But just as I was about to lose consciousness, my hand brushed against something small under my pillow. It was a small coin, which I had found in my pocket when I first arrived here. I clutched the coin tightly, and a sudden surge of strength filled me. This coin was from my past, proof that I had once lived in the outside world. I couldn't give up now. I had to live. I had to get out, and I would make Mr. Donovan pay for what he had done. From then on, I began to learn to take care of myself, although the conditions were terrible. I tried my best to wash my clothes clean and keep the room tidy. I also walked around the room slowly to exercise my body. My chest still ached, but I knew that only by taking good care of my body could I have a chance to escape. Year after year passed, and I stayed in this room for a full 10 years. 10 years, over 3,600 days and nights. Every day felt like hell. I went from a young woman in her early 20s to a woman in her 30s. Some of my hair turned white, and wrinkles appeared on my face, but the fire within me never died. In these 10 years, I haven't been without opportunities. Once, Mr. Donovan's subordinate got drunk and accidentally dropped the room key at the door. I saw it and was very excited, thinking of taking the key to open the door and escape, but just as I was about to get the key, Aunt suddenly appeared. She picked up the key and glared at me, saying, "What do you think you're doing? Don't think I don't know what's on your mind. Behave yourself." After that, I never had such a good opportunity again. But I didn't give up. I still observed my surroundings every day, waiting for the next chance. I know that I've endured 10 years. And I can endure more, as long as I don't give up. One day, I will be able to escape this hellhole. One day, I will find the truth, and one day, I will see my parents. One day, when Aunt came to bring me something, she suddenly said, "Mr. Donovan seems to have something on his mind lately and often loses his temper. I heard that Mrs. Lin is not feeling well again." A thought stirred within me. Was Mrs. Lin unwell? Was there an issue with her transplant surgery from years ago? Or was there another reason? I quickly asked Aunt, "What's wrong with Mrs. Lin? Is it a relapse of her old illness?" Aunt shook her head. "I don't know the specifics. I just heard them say that Mrs. Lin has been coughing a lot recently and is having difficulty breathing. It's a bit like when you had just finished your surgery." A sudden thought occurred to me. Could the lung lobe that Mr. Donovan transplanted into Mrs. Lin all those years ago have been unsuitable? Or was there something else going on? If that were the case, would it mean I had a chance to find the truth? I clenched my fists tightly. Hope rekindled in my heart. 10 years. I had waited 10 years. Perhaps my chance was finally coming, since Aunt mentioned that Mrs. Lin wasn't feeling well. I've been preoccupied with it, always feeling it was an opportunity to uncover the truth. During that time, I strained my ears every day, listening for any news about Mrs. Lin. About half a month passed, and one afternoon, as I was lying on the edge of my bed resting, I suddenly heard a quarrel outside. The voices weren't loud, but because the room was particularly quiet, I could vaguely make out a few sentences. One of the voices was familiar. It was Mr. Donovan's. He seemed to be arguing with someone, and his tone was particularly angry. I quickly got up, tiptoed to the door, and put my ear against it, holding my breath to listen carefully. I heard Mr. Donovan roar, "What is going on with you? Wasn't it agreed back then that her lungs were a perfect match for Lin Wei?" Only then did I learn Mrs. Lin's name was Lin Wei. How could this problem have arisen now? Another unfamiliar male voice sounded, with a hint of panic. "Mr. Donovan, I don't know either. When the examination was done back then, it was indeed a match. I don't know why it's like this now." "Don't know," Mr. Donovan interrupted, his voice growing fiercer. "Lin Wei coughs every day now and has trouble breathing. The doctor says her lung function is deteriorating. You're telling me you don't know? Did you trick me back then?" The male voice became more flustered. "Mr. Donovan, I wouldn't dare. How could I dare to trick you? I followed the proper procedures back then. And there were absolutely no issues." "Proper procedures?" Mr. Donovan scoffed. "I think you took a bribe from someone and deliberately lied to me, didn't you? Do you think I can't find out?" Hearing this, my heart skipped a beat. Took a bribe from someone, deliberately lied to Mr. Donovan. Could it be that my lungs were never a match for Lin Wei's, and someone deliberately deceived Mr. Donovan into thinking they were, leading him to harvest my lungs? Who is this person? Why would he do this? Is he targeting me, or Mr. Donovan? As I was thinking, I heard the man's voice, choked with tears, say, "Mr. Donovan, I really didn't, if I'm lying to you. May lightning strike me dead. How about you have another doctor check? Maybe Mrs. Lin hasn't been taking care of herself lately, which caused her condition to worsen. Check, we definitely need to check," Mr. Donovan said. "I've already found the best experts from abroad. And I'll take Lin Wei for an examination tomorrow. If it turns out you were behind it back then, I won't let you off." Then, I heard footsteps, followed by the door slamming shut with a bang. And silence returned outside. I leaned against the door, a mixture of shock and joy filling my heart. Shocked that there were so many hidden dealings from back then, with someone pulling the strings from behind the scenes. Joyful that if Mr. Donovan investigated, he might uncover the truth. Then he would realize he had wronged me, and perhaps I would have a chance to get out. That night, I was so excited I couldn't sleep. My mind kept replaying the conversation I overheard that afternoon, trying to guess who had argued with Mr. Donovan, and who was the one orchestrating things from the shadows. The next morning, when Aunt came to bring me some things, her expression was grim. I quickly asked her, "Aunt, did something happen?" Aunt sighed and said, "Mr. Donovan took Mrs. Lin abroad early this morning to see a doctor. I heard they're looking for some specialist for a checkup. Last night, Mr. Donovan reprimanded Dr. Lee, who was in charge of the surgery back then, and even said he would investigate the matter from that year. Dr. Lee," my heart skipped a beat, "is that the person who argued with Mr. Donovan yesterday?" Aunt nodded. "That's him. Mr. Donovan specifically hired this Dr. Lee back then to perform examinations and surgeries. Now that Mrs. Lin's condition has worsened, Mr. Donovan is definitely going to settle the score with him." I asked again, "Do you know if there was anything unusual when Dr. Lee examined me back then? Or if anyone else had contact with him?" Aunt thought for a moment and said, "I'm not too clear about what happened back then, but I think I heard someone say that Dr. Lee met with one of Mr. Donovan's competitors before examining you. However, this is just hearsay, and I don't know if it's true or not." Mr. Donovan's competitor. I understood immediately. It must have been that competitor who bribed Dr. Lee, leading Dr. Lee to deceive Mr. Donovan into believing my lungs were a match for Lin Wei. This way, Mr. Donovan, in his desperation to save Lin Wei, would commit an illegal act like removing my lung lobes. Once exposed, Mr. Donovan would be ruined, and his competitor could seize the market. What a vicious scheme. I've become a victim of their business rivalry. The more I thought about it, the angrier I became, wishing I could find that competitor immediately and confront them. But I also knew that dwelling on it now was useless. I would only have a chance once Mr. Donovan uncovered the truth. For the next few days, I eagerly awaited news from Mr. Donovan, hoping he would uncover the truth soon. However, after more than a month, there was no progress. I started to feel anxious, fearing that Mr. Donovan wouldn't be able to find out, or that he would discover it but refuse to admit his mistake. Just as I was about to lose patience, one afternoon, Aunt suddenly rushed in, holding a newspaper in her hand. She handed the newspaper to me and said, "Quick, look, something big has happened." I quickly took the newspaper and saw that the headline read, "Duan Group President Duan was arrested for illegally harvesting someone else's lungs to save his girlfriend, manipulated by a competitor. The truth is exposed." I was so excited my hands were shaking as I continued reading. The newspaper reported in detail, after Mr. Donovan took Mrs. Lin abroad for a checkup, foreign experts discovered that the lung transplant for Mrs. Lin was not a match for her body at all. And the examination report from that year showed clear signs of tampering. Mr. Donovan was furious when he learned this and immediately ordered an investigation into Dr. Lee, the investigation revealed that Dr. Lee had indeed accepted benefits from Mr. Donovan's competitor, Mr. Jong, that year, deliberately altered the examination report, and deceived Mr. Donovan into believing that my lungs were a match for Mrs. Lin, with the intention of making Mr. Donovan do something illegal and thus ruin Duan Group. Now, Dr. Lee has been arrested by the police, and Mr. Jong is under investigation. Mr. Donovan is also facing legal repercussions for illegally harvesting another person's organs. After reading the newspaper, tears streamed down my face, not from sadness, but from excitement. 10 years, I had waited a full 10 years, and the truth was finally revealed. Mr. Donovan finally knew he had wrongly accused me, and those who harmed me would finally be punished. Aunt saw me crying and sighed, saying, "I never thought what happened back then was so complicated, and your grievances have finally been cleared. Mr. Donovan must be full of regret now." When he returned yesterday, he looked terrible and even asked about you. He asked about me. I was a little surprised. Aunt nodded. Yes, he asked how you've been all these years and said he wanted to see you, but now he's in trouble himself, and it's uncertain if he'll be able to see you. I had mixed feelings. Mr. Donovan regretted it, but could his regret make up for my 10 years of suffering? Could it make up for the lung lobe I lost? Could it make up for the 10 years I was separated from my parents? Although I harbored hatred, I was still a little relieved that the truth was finally revealed, relieved that I no longer had to be kept in the dark, and relieved that those bad people would finally be punished. I knew that my difficult days were nearing their end. Once the police intervened, I could leave this place that had confined me for 10 years, see my parents whom I missed dearly, and start my life anew. That afternoon, I sat by the window. Although I still couldn't see the outside world, I could feel the sunlight seeping through the gaps in the curtains, warming my heart. I finally saw hope, the dawn of a new future. In the evening, I heard the sound of police cars outside. I knew the police must be here to investigate Mr. Donovan and might even take me away. I felt both nervous and excited. Nervous because I didn't know what would happen next, and excited because I could finally leave this place, as expected. It wasn't long before someone knocked on the door. I quickly stood up, took a deep breath, and opened it. 2 police officers were standing at the entrance. Seeing me, they said gently, "Excuse me, are you Ms. Sue? We're here to take you. Your family has been looking for you, and they're waiting for you outside now." Family? My parents are here. I was too excited to speak, and tears streamed down my face again. 10 years, and I was finally going to see them. I followed the police officers out of the room and out of the building that had imprisoned me for 10 years. When I saw my parents standing next to the police car, I couldn't hold back any longer. I ran towards them, threw myself into their arms, and cried loudly, "Dad, Mom, I missed you so much." My parents also hugged me and cried. My mother said while crying, "Child, you're finally back. We looked for you for 10 years and thought we'd never see you again." My father patted my back and said, "It's good that you're back, it's good that you're back. We'll never let you be wronged again." I hugged my parents, feeling their warmth, and thought, 10 years of suffering were finally over. The truth was finally revealed. Although I lost a lot, I can finally reunite with my family, and that's enough. And I also know that Mr. Donovan will completely collapse after learning the truth. He was used to save the woman he loved, wrongly harmed me, and ruined his reputation. Such an ending is what he deserves. After reuniting with my parents, I went home with them. It had been 10 years, and the house hadn't changed much, except for the many photos of me on the walls. From when I was little to just before I disappeared, my parents had them all beautifully framed and impeccably clean. My mom tidied my room while chattering about everything that had happened over the past decade, how they searched for me everywhere, how they were disappointed time and again yet held on to hope. Her stories made my heart ache and feel warm at the same time. My dad even went out of his way to buy me the Osmanthus cake I loved most as a child, although I can't eat too much sweets now because I'm missing a lung lobe and it makes me cough. I still ate 2 pieces. The taste was just like it was when I was little, filled with a sense of home. The 3rd day after I returned home, the police came to take my statement. asking me to recount in detail the incident where Mr. Donovan removed my lung lobe. I told the police everything, from being captured to the excruciating pain of the surgery without anesthesia, and then the torment of the past 10 years. As I spoke, I couldn't help but cry again, even after 10 years. The painful memories felt as fresh as if they had happened yesterday. The police listened with a sigh and said, "Miss Sue, we understand the suffering you've endured, rest assured. We will handle this according to the law and ensure that those who harmed you receive their just punishment." The day after giving my statement, I saw news about Mr. Donovan. The news reported that Mr. Donovan had been officially arrested by the police for illegally harvesting organs. The reporter also captured photos of him when he was arrested. In the photos, his hair was messy, his eyes were sunken, and his face was pale. He was completely different from the spirited and cold Mr. Donovan he used to be, looking particularly down and out. Looking at the photos, I didn't feel as relieved as I expected. Instead, I felt a mix of emotions. I hated him for being so heartless to me back then, but seeing him like this, I also felt a little pity for him. He was also deceived, and in the end, he ended up disgraced and imprisoned. About a week later, the police contacted me again, saying that Mr. Donovan wanted to see me. I hesitated for a long time. My parents also advised me, maybe you shouldn't see him. Meeting him will only remind you of the past and make you feel wronged again. But after thinking about it, I decided to go. I wanted to ask him myself why he believed Dr. Lee so much back then, why he didn't investigate further, and why he so easily ruined my life. The meeting took place in the interview room of the detention center. When I entered, Mr. Donovan was already sitting inside, wearing the detention center's gray prison uniform. His hair had turned even whiter than in the photos, and his eyes were bloodshot, making him look extremely haggard. He froze when he saw me enter, staring straight at me. His lips moved, but no words came out. I sat down in the chair opposite him, feeling a bit nervous. I clutched the edge of my clothes tightly. Remaining silent for a long time, Mr. Donovan broke the silence first. His voice was hoarse, completely different from the cold tone he used to have. "Miss Sue, have you been well all these years?" Hearing this, a surge of anger welled up inside me. I stared at him and said, "Well, Mr. Donovan, do you think I could have been well? For 10 years, I was locked in a small room, enduring chest pain every day, wondering if my parents thought I was dead, longing to be free every day. Do you think I've been well?" Mr. Donovan's head dropped, his hands covering his face, his shoulders shaking uncontrollably. After a long while, he choked out, "I'm sorry, Miss Sue, I'm sorry. I know saying sorry now is useless, but I really didn't know it would turn out this way. I was deceived by Dr. Lee, by President Jong. I'm sorry to you. You're sorry to me." I sneered. "Mr. Donovan, during the surgery back then, the nurse told you I had no anesthesia, that I would be in excruciating pain. What did you say? You said, if she dies of pain, it's her fate. Have you forgotten? Back then, why didn't you think about being sorry to me?" Mr. Donovan suddenly looked up, his eyes filled with tears. He looked at me, his voice full of remorse. "I haven't forgotten. How could I forget? These past years, especially after Lin Wei's health deteriorated, I've thought about that day every single day. I thought about how much pain you must have been in, how I could have been so heartless. But back then, my mind was solely on saving Lin Wei. I was too desperate, and I didn't realize I was being manipulated, didn't realize I would end up harming you. Saving Lin Wei." I asked him, "Did you love her so much that you could disregard someone else's life and death? So much that you would break the law and commit crimes?" Mr. Donovan shook his head, his tears flowing even more fiercely. "It wasn't love back then, it was guilt. Lin Wei's father was an old comrade-in-arms of my father's. He died saving my father, and my father told me to take good care of Lin Wei. Later, she had lung problems, and I felt I had to save her, otherwise I would have failed her father and my father. I was so obsessed with having to save her that Mr. Jong took advantage of the situation. I only then understood that Mr. Donovan didn't love Lin Wei, but felt guilty. But even if it was guilt, it wasn't a reason for him to hurt me." Mr. Donovan continued, when I took Lin Wei abroad for examination and heard the experts say the lung lobes didn't match and the report was fake, I was completely stunned. I immediately investigated Dr. Lee, found out he had taken money from Mr. Zhong, and that he had deliberately deceived me. I was so angry I almost killed him. But no matter how angry I was, it couldn't bring back your lung lobe, nor could it bring back these 10 years of your life. As he spoke, he suddenly knelt down with a thump. I was so startled that I quickly stood up. He knelt on the ground, repeatedly kowtowing to me, saying, "Miss Sue, I know I deserve to die. I don't ask for your forgiveness. I only beg that you be well and be able to live a normal life from now on. I still have some assets under my name, and I've already told my lawyer to transfer them all to you as compensation." I watched him kneel on the ground, kowtowing until his forehead was red, and my heart was filled with mixed emotions. I wanted to scold him, to tell him to get up. But the words turned into a sigh as they reached my lips. I said, "Mr. Donovan, please get up. I don't need compensation. I just want to live a good life with my parents now. The law will deal with your mistakes. I just hope you'll remember from now on, no matter the reason. You must not harm someone's life or dignity." Mr. Donovan slowly stood up, his face covered in tears and remorse. He looked at me and said, his voice trembling, "I'll remember. I'll never forget in this lifetime, Miss Sue. You must be well, you must be happy." The meeting time arrived, and the police came to take Mr. Donovan away. As he left, he kept looking back at me, his eyes full of guilt and despair. I knew that for the rest of his life, he would live with regret for me and pay the price for what he did back then. Stepping out of the detention center, the sunlight warmed my skin. I took a deep breath. Although my chest still felt a little tight, I felt a great sense of relief. 10 years of pain, 10 years of suffering, finally came to an end today. My parents were waiting for me outside, and when they saw me come out, they quickly walked over to ask me how I was. I smiled and said to them, "Dad, Mom, it's okay now, it's all over. From now on, our family will live a good life together and we won't think about those unhappy things anymore." Mom held my hand, her eyes red. Okay, from now on our family will never be separated again." I looked up at the sun in the sky, thinking, although I lost a lung lobe, although I missed 10 years, I still have my parents who love me, and I have the chance to start over. Those who hurt me have already been punished, and I should let go of the past and live well. As for Mr. Donovan, his breakdown and regret are deserved. I will not forgive him. But I will not let him affect my life anymore. My future, with my parents, will get better and happier. Alright, that's the end of today's story. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe. We'll keep updating with more exciting stories, and we look forward to seeing you next time.